Well, here we are, my friends. Festive cheer is here. Well, at least for some of us it is. The TalkNorwichCity podcast back and deep in your eardrums, ready for another week of action. Good to see you. You well? Lovely jumper.
Why are you so sprightly?
I'm feeling good. Santa's, probably already left Lapland. I've warmed up from Saturday.
Yeah.
That's a positive.
Yeah.
Because I was freezing.
Yeah.
Got my Where's your hat, actually?
I'm not wearing it.
Why?
Because I don't feel Christmassy at all.
Why?
And I'm in a mood. And actually, if it wasn't for you, I'd probably be wearing all black.
You've been in a mood for the last 6 months. What's happened to you? Cheer up.
I'll tell you what's happened.
What's happened to you?
We've not been fulfilling our potential at all.
We're in the top 6.
Which we'll go into in a minute, I'm sure.
Aside from Norwich, you okay?
Yeah.
Good.
I'm okay, actually, mate. I am okay. But the Norwich thing is impacting me quite a lot. So actually, the answer to that question is I'm not okay.
We'll have a therapy session. A big thank you to our sponsors, Nor and Lakens. Lakens in the background, Nor in the background. Sorry, the Lakens sold out completely. You know who did that box?
Smashed it.
Gone.
I'm not surprised.
Gone.
It was an absolute Barry bargain.
The discount codes are in the description. Well worth getting over there. I think you may have missed the ship for Christmas now, but why not treat yourself for a little New Year chocolate bar?
Yeah, a little pick-me-up for January.
People are often quite down in January. What better way to solve it than a pint of beer? Where should we start?
I don't know.
Do you like my hat?
Yeah, I do like the hat. I'll give the hat a... Hang on a minute, it says press here. Does it?
Batteries are probably gone now.
Oh, the batteries are gone.
Oh, I don't know.
Does it sing a song?
I have no idea. I didn't know there was a...
Yeah, it says press here on it. Have you ever seen that before? What the hell?
I think it's dead.
Yeah,
I don't think it's meant to...
I think you might have to get rid of that. Sounds like...
Oh!
Sounds like we're in... Can you...
Oh, I should have never have pressed that. So you like my hat then?
I do. I love your hat.
I've got you a hat. Why don't you put it on?
No, I don't want to. No. I'll put this on when Norwich City... I tell you what, I'll put this on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And I'll put a picture on social media.
Okay.
If Norwich City win a game of football. But until then, I ain't wearing this.
Well,
I'm not.
You can put it on Boxing Day after we beat Luton.
I'm in a mood. I don't feel Christmassy.
Where would you like to start?
Well, I think the last time we did a pod was pre-Swan. Well, we beat Swansea.
Great win. Really good win against a high-flying Swansea side under Russell Martin.
That'll do. I want to say high-flying, old boy.
A lot of people are complimenting the football they're playing.
Yes, they are. They are playing some good, positive, proactive football. So therefore, it's a win that you should
celebrate.
Yeah, you should appreciate and enjoy. But then the wheels came off the bus.
We spoke to Kenny about that, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
That was a good podcast. Enjoyed
that.
It
was. And thanks so much. We should say that as always. Thanks so much for watching that, for all of your support. And, I was
impressed with Kenny actually.
I must admit, I was surprised. I thought, and this is with no disrespect to Kenny, I thought he was going to play it safer.
Yeah.
And what people should know, as always, full disclosure, because people want to make up this narrative about us being better than the football club and all this.
They paid us huge sums of money for that.
They did not.
They didn't.
And I have been knocking on the door of Norwich City Football Club for probably about 6 months to try and get that interview with Kenny specifically. And I wanted to do that interview mainly to talk about social media abuse and the impact that it has on players and their families. So it finally got to a point where they were happy.
They just went, we can't be dealing with Chris with anyone.
Yeah, they probably
just shut him up.
They probably got fed up of me chasing. But one of the things that I did want to praise is Kenny because, it was pretty risky of us to throw in a Daniel Farker question in and also a Dean Smith question. And Kenny took them on and he was straight-laced and I felt that he was superb. Yeah. I really do.
And I think sometimes fans think that players aren't understanding the sentiment, and he completely got it. And he was, and I liked when he kept saying, "I get where the fans are coming from." He was, I thought, very empathetic to the fans, and I thought the issues he had with certain parts of the behaviour from fans this season, I've also got issues with. So I thought it was completely fair.
But I think that he approached it from a sense of understanding and respect.
Yeah,
and that's key.
Yeah,
and I actually think a lot of the players do understand and appreciate where the fans are coming from. So I think that's positive. So thank you for watching, for listening to the Kenny pod. I really appreciate it.
That was a highlight, and it was coming off the back of a good win against Swansea.
Yeah.
Things have gone very south since then.
Very, very, very south.
It was pretty bleak, wasn't it, on Saturday against Blackburn?
Yeah.
Blackburn, we must say, were...
Oh, don't.
We must provide context.
Oh, go on then.
Can you just let me speak?
Yeah, if you want to.
Blackburn were third. They were above us. They've got some decent players in that side. Ben Brereton, Diaz, Gallagher, Tyrese Dolan, Bradley Dack, who I think have maybe been on the same diet as I have because he put a couple of pounds on since I last saw it. But anyway, that's the context. The context of the game was we lost.
But they've just been beaten at home before that.
Oh, they've been battered in their last two games.
I tweeted this at the time. I said
they've lost a lot of games.
The frustrating thing about that, not just that game. We're going to get onto your tweet in a minute, big boy. But all of the games that we've lost at home this season, I say all because there's been disgustingly so many of them. Is the fact that they were painfully average. And then people were responding saying, well, what does that make us, Chris? I'll tell you what it makes us. Below average. Below painfully average.
No, I think it's a good point. I'm yet to see a side this season that I thought will survive in the Premier League if they go up next season. The league is the worst I've ever seen.
I think Burnley could.
Burnley were okay. They were okay.
Burnley remind me a little bit of us under Farke in his first season. And I think that perhaps, I mean, because Burnley is still conceding goals. My observations are they're still conceding goals, and maybe a little bit too many to survive. And I think, and that was again to compliment Kenny. That's what he said about Daniel Farke's approach to the Premier League, is it was just a little bit too naive, potentially not streetwise or pragmatic.
That is the one argument I'm seeing a lot, and I completely agree with, is that Norwich are probably where they are, and I say that with us sitting in the top six. Because the rest of the league is, let's be frank, shit. Yeah. It is really poor. I mean, the fact
about time you came out with some honesty.
Well, I've said that all along. I've said that the leagues, and I said in my preview video at the start of the season, when everyone called me deluded, and nothing's changed from that point, that we should win the league. And I agree with the squad we've got. We should be in the top two. We should be.
And oh God, there's so much to break down, isn't there? And a lot of the stuff we've said time and time again. But I think just on that quality point, Jack, I think the players that we've got, having been relegated in the fashion that they were, I wouldn't have expected them to romp the league and to win every game by a country mile and dominate every single game. I don't think that is a fair expectation. But I do think it's a fair expectation for us to be having way more than 20-minute positive spells in games. I do think it's a fair expectation for us to have won pretty much every single home game so far this season. I think that's a fair expectation, given that we're just down from the Prem with the squad that we've got. We've got two-time title winners. We've got Josh Sargent, who's been, a new man. He's gone off to the World Cup squad. Timu Pukki, club legend, still scoring goals despite the fact of how bad we've been playing. So, yeah. But then this is the thing. I don't think it's just. And we'll talk about Dean Smith, won't we? Like, I don't think it's a silver bullet thing of, sack Dean Smith and it all changes. I think, oh, hello. I do think I wouldn't necessarily say the problems run deeper, but you can't put out all of the Norwich City fires by sacking Dean Smith. But I think it's getting to a point now where the club are going to have a decision to make. They're going to have a decision to make. Jack, I want to bring up something quite early on, right? Because I've been scratching my head over this for the last 24 hours. Is your tweet, right? And obviously a lot of people responded to this.
I love that you make it out like it's the only tweet I've ever said.
Well,
the tweet.
Well, it is the tweet, and everyone knows that's watching us what the tweet was. Now, you said at the start of this podcast that you've just about warmed up. I think this tweet shows that you were still, that the brain was still freezing cold. I don't think you're thinking straight.
Okay.
So,
Well,
so for the people that
you can talk me through what you disagree with.
So for the people that haven't seen the tweet, Jack tweeted after the match, in isolation, yesterday's performance wasn't that bad. 19 shots on goal and some decent chances created in a battle that we mostly bossed. Sadly, not winning at home is now terminal with the sentiment of the fan base. Now, it's safe to say that 98% of the responses...
That's generous. 100%. There wasn't a single, publicly, there wasn't a single person that agreed with me.
Was there a single person that agreed with you privately?
There were, actually.
Was there?
Yeah, and
Well,
I think that's telling, because people don't want to agree with that, because they saw how people reacted to me, and I don't care, to be honest. But other people do care, and I appreciate that. But look, certainly more people disagreed than agreed. I'm not saying that there were hundreds of people in my DMs, but there were a considerable few. And I agree with what I said.
I think you are living in La La Land.
Tell me what you disagree with.
All of it.
Right. So you disagree with the shot count? Because that's a fact.
Right, first of all, why are you looking at this game? We can't be looking at games in isolation now, Jack. We're beyond that point.
I get where you're coming from. I think you can look at games in isolation. People...
You can, but why? Look where we are with the squad that we've got playing the way that we are.
Because people are making out that full 90-minute performance was poor.
It was.
You can't... I don't think it... I think the second half, there were good moments. And I think Blackburn will have... their first goal was an own goal. And their second goal was when we were throwing men forwards. There were elements in that second half where I looked at it and went, okay, yeah, we're creating things now. Onel came on and created some goodness. Timu, I thought, was really good. Josh Sargent, there were sprites from him.
You're talking about running, Jack.
I'm not talking about running.
Are.
I'm not.
We
created
running. Running is the bare minimum.
Norwich,
and we're not running enough.
Norwich had 19 shots on goal. Granted, a lot of them weren't troubling the goalkeeper.
So how can you say there were good moments if we're not troubling the goalkeeper?
Because we did on occasions.
I think this is one of the worst tweets you've ever posted.
No, there's definitely been worse. I think...
and I'm being serious.
I think... We'll get on to Dean Smith's comments afterwards.
Oh, don't even start. Well,
I think it's a really interesting... I think it's really interesting where the position he's in at the moment. I just think that there's quality in this squad, and we know that.
Yeah.
And there were bits on Saturday that did give me hope.
Hope?
Yeah.
Hope?
Yeah, I think, look...
What gives you hope from that?
You're coming up against a Blackburn side that have won a lot of games this season.
What? You sound like Chris Hughton. Why are you complimenting the opposition all the time? They're Blackburn, not bloody Barcelona.
Because they've won a lot of games of football this season.
Oh, come on, Jack.
I'm just saying...
They're painfully average. How far have your standards slipped? Again.
It's very...
Again. Look at yourself. Listen to what you're saying.
It's very easy to get caught up in recency bias of being like, we've lost this amount of games. All I'm saying is, I'm not saying it was a good performance. I'm saying it wasn't that bad. And I will stand by that.
It
wasn't.
Look, right.
It wasn't.
Let's take it to the viewers. Let us know in the comments section. Do you think Jack is living in La La Land, or do you agree with him?
The 2 goals Blackburn scored, one of them was a hopeful free kick that we scored, and the other one was in the 86th minute when we were throwing men forwards. Right? Did they trouble us at any other point in that game?
No. Okay, right. Let's go back to this absolute shocker. A battle that we mostly bossed.
We did.
We had
the majority of the ball.
They didn't. It was like a pre-season game for Blackburn.
I mean, we literally did have the majority of the ball. You cannot disagree with that.
But that doesn't mean anything.
We had the ball.
We saw that under Daniel Farke. You can keep the ball at the back all day long, but if you don't create anything positive from it, it's pointless.
But we did in the second half. There were moments of positivity. Look.
But those moments of positivity didn't result in goals and points again, Jack.
Look, I agree with the sentiment, and I agree that we're in a sticky situation, and I agree that, and I said it there, and I said it in the previous tweet, that Dean Smith's position is almost untenable at this stage. And I'm a big believer that once you lose the fans, it's game over. And he's very much lost the fans.
And honestly, this is just one last personal dig at you before we get on to Dean Smith. I'm really genuinely concerned that you've tweeted that. And not just because of you, right? I'm worried that you've tweeted that, because I think it shows just how apathetic and numbed people are. And I'm seeing it on social media, Jack. People are saying, meh, yeah, meh, expected it.
Well, I think
it's gonna happen. And for you,
I think
an extremely passionate Norwich fan, to say that we bossed it, there was moments of positivity, and we should be looking at games in isolation. Jack, how many more games are we going to lose at home this season?
I disagree with the fact there's apathy, because there's anger. There's anger in the air, and I think apathy is when people are numb and don't really care.
They don't. They're not turning up, Jack.
People are very angry with Dean Smith.
Absolutely.
And they were very angry with that tweet.
But they've started voting with their feet because they didn't turn up.
And rightly so. If you're not happy, don't turn up. I 100% agree with that. What was I going to say?
Dean Smith, comments?
Yeah, we can talk about them.
Shocking.
Look, I think it is game over for Dean Smith. So what were his comments? Because it would be wrong to misquote him.
And again, yeah, it would be. And I want to start this segment by saying, genuinely, hand on heart, honestly, I really want to be. And for those that have followed the channel for a while, I love to be positive. I don't want to drag through life like a cold bag of shit.
And you are.
I don't want to be negative.
Shameful.
I don't want to be cold. I want to be optimistic, because that's what it's all about, believing in something. But I don't. It's been sapped out of me. And so I just wanted to say, before we criticise Dean Smith here, that...
You're saying we. It might just be you.
Okay. Before I criticise Dean Smith here, it's genuinely not personal. It's football, and I've stuck up for Dean Smith so many times this season, and I've been so patient, arguably too patient. But this, for me, it has boiled my blood. It's boiled my blood. I don't know why the club continuously come out with, whoever it will be, they just come out with, why? Do not get the cow prod out and sting us when we're already stung.
You're saying the club, it was Dean Smith. No one else from the club at this moment said that.
Stop hurting us.
What was the quote?
The quote from Chris Gorham that Chris Gorham tweeted, the quote from Dean Smith.
Imagine if Chris Gorham had said this.
He would never say this. The narrative has been set. A lot of them have been waiting for this to happen or wanted it to. So let's just quickly interject here. The narrative has been set. A lot of them, I hate that. It's us.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You're our manager. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Not them. We're not outsiders. We're not imposters.
I agree.
We're the people that pay way too much, above the average, by the way, for way too long, by the way, to pay for our season tickets. And you're talking about us like as if we're rodents. Anyway, fortunately, I actually can't believe. Do you know what? I can't even read it. Seriously, I can't read it.
So we're quoting.
It's shocking. It's shocking.
We're quoting Dean Smith verbatim here. The narrative's been set. A lot of them have been waiting for this to happen or wanted it to, talking that we've lost a game. Fortunately, our next game is away from home. You feel like we have to score 2 very quick goals at home to get people on our side.
What are you doing, Dino? What are you thinking?
Which bit upset you most out of that?
He's just gone full Glenn Roeder, unfortunately, and he's just stuck his middle finger up at the fans, or at least that's how it feels. And honestly and seriously, if he genuinely values his relationship with the fans, I would expect an apology in his next press conference. You cannot talk about /2/reference the fans. I know it must be awful standing on the sidelines, people singing what they sung. I get that. I empathise with that. It must extremely hurt. But you just can't say it. The football's been turgid, Dino. Fortunately, our next game is away. That is a big fuck you to the Norwich fans.
Do you think any of the chanting in the last game and also previous games, do you think any of it's been unfair?
No, I don't.
You think all of it's been justified?
I think.
What about when Kieran Dyer was cheered off?
I think that was poor. But I think the chants around the style of football. Do you know the only thing I would disagree with is which sort of makes me giggle a little bit, is the booing of anything.
Yeah.
Because they were being booed for playing it around the back, but they were also being booed for hoofing it or actually trying to play they were trying to get up the pitch faster, aka they were playing long balls across the middle of the park, trying to find Timu Pukki or Josh Sargent, which obviously was never going to work. But they tried it and it didn't work, and they got booed for that. They get booed for playing it around the back. So I think the booing there is not good. But I hate booing. I'm not on board with booing. But now I'm in the stands and I'm looking at it, Jack, and I'm thinking, do you know what? I understand why fans have got to the point where they boo. And I think, unfortunately, the club have made their bed and now they have to lie in it. It's as simple as that. I completely empathise with why Norwich City fans have had enough. I empathise why Norwich City fans are booing what they are seeing, because it is so far below the standards of which this football club should be at. It's embarrassing. It's not good enough.
I think, yeah, look, fans are well within their rights to do whatever they deem fit, as long as it's not offensive and hurts people. I feel slightly uncomfortable with the almost sarcastic cheering, jibing, booing during a game, because I'm like, nothing positive comes from that. I'm fine with it after the game. I'm fine with it at half time. What benefit is it to boo when Grant Hanley makes a pass back to Angus Gunn in the 60th minute? Because he has no other option in that stage.
I agree with you, Jack, but unfortunately, that is the point that we're at. And I find it desperately sad that I'm siding with it. I'm desperately sad, but Norwich fans have been driven to this point. The results have been nowhere near good enough. And you know what I've been like this season? Just win. Just win. I don't care about style. You know, people can take the piss out of it and, you know, Brexit football me all day long on it, right? But this season, after being relegated in the Premier League in the fashion that we were, with the squad in the state that it was, just win football matches. And after that 10-game unbeaten run, the wheels fell off the bus dramatically, and we cannot hide away from that. I think Dean Smith has got 2 games to save his job. I think his position will become untenable, and Norwich City won't want that. Norwich City will want to keep Dean Smith in post for much longer. But after losing another home game, after saying that we needed to come back a different animal, is not good enough. I don't care who the team is in the league. We didn't show fight or desire to win. Oh, sorry, we did in the 90th fucking minute. We are. I'm sorry to be pessimistic. We are going to get bullied by Luton, and I will be disrespectful to Luton. That is not good enough.
Are you saying he's got
Reading Football Club? You know my feelings on them. If they come to Carrow Road and beat us, it's done.
Are you saying he's got 2 games from your point of view, or you think that's the club's stance?
I think it's just. I don't think it's my point of view. I think it's a lot of people's point of view.
Well, I think a lot of people would say his job is already untenable and he doesn't deserve more time.
Well, absolutely, and I understand why people are saying that. I can't put a positive twist on anything anymore. I can't defend it.
For me, this is my stance, right? If you're going to sack Dean Smith, you sack him pre-World Cup. Because that's a big enough sample size to realise where we're at. It's unlikely things are going to change drastically after that point. If you're not going to sack him, or sorry, if you don't sack him pre-World Cup when you've got a month break, I just can't see them sacking him. I really can't.
Well, yeah, and I could imagine that they won't. But I just think, and I was chatting to someone on the phone about this today, and a lot of people listening and watching to this that are a more experienced Norwich fan, shall I say, rather than the younger audience, will say this reeks of Rhoda, and it really, really is about to get as toxic as Nigel Worthington. Okay?
I can't recall it being as toxic.
We want Worthy out. I remember it well. It hasn't been this toxic in a while, and the scary thing is it's about to get more toxic. At Reading at home, I genuinely think he has to win at Luton. He has to win at Luton, no matter what. And he's got to produce not just a win at home, a performance at home to Reading.
I think the concerning thing is for Dean Smith now, and Norwich City Football Club in general, is that even if we win our next 5, which isn't going to happen,
no,
fans still won't be happy, and I get that. I think
fans have made their mind up.
It is game over.
But we've said it for a while. haven't we? In fairness, we've said that Dean Smith has been nailed to a cross for a long time. And I do honestly believe it was the right thing to do to give him the championship season. I believe it was the right thing to do to be patient with him. I believe it was the right thing to do to support a Dean Smith Norwich City during that 10-game unbeaten run. But we had to see incremental gains. We had to see a constant of improvement, and the inconsistency in results it's actually scary.
Well, there's been an inconsistency in results, but there's been a consistency in performances, and it's been consistently very average.
Consistently shit.
Twitter questions?
Let's do it.
Right, time for Twitter, and this is, I think, if there's any positive, record-breaking for responses. So if nothing else...
That's not a positive, because they're all negative.
There's a few positives.
There's a couple of positives, I'll say that.
You start.
I'll start with one, and I don't like to feed some of this stuff, but I feel that it's appropriate because I don't agree with a lot of this, but I want to ask you it, Jack. So we've got one that says, why is Jack so afraid to say he wants Dean Smith out? His half-arsed tweets suggest he wants him gone, but he's too scared to get on the wrong side of the club, with a chicken emoji. For a fan page, you really don't represent the fan's voice.
Well,
break that one down.
Well, it's not our job to represent fan voice. We're here to represent what we think, and people can agree or disagree with that, and that's always been the stance. I think it was far more scary to go against Daniel Farke when I did. I mean, if I say I want Dean Smith out, that's and I think it would be the right call from the club to sack Dean Smith at this stage. So by saying that, I think he should be gone. And like, we've fallen out with the club plenty of times before, and that's never been something that I've cared about. If the club like us, great. If the club don't like us, it doesn't affect us. Our channel isn't built on a relationship with the football club. If we get to speak to Kenny, brilliant. If we don't, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect us. And the club have also given us interviews with players in the past when I've said things that they haven't agreed with, and you've said things they haven't agreed with. I don't speak to anyone at the football club ever. You do.
Yeah, I do.
I try and keep distance. I think that's important to keep editorial integrity. I've always said what I think, and I will continue to do so. If that just doesn't make sense, what that person said, like, I'm not trying to stay in bed with the club. They don't pay me. We don't get any perks from them, barring the odd interview that also doesn't really affect us too much. And like, I've gone against people when nobody else has gone against them. That's far more scary.
Yeah, because we were one of the first, I think we were one of the first, I don't know, media people, if you want to put us in that bracket. We're just a fan channel, right? But we were obviously one of the first people to come out saying, do you know what? We're done with Daniel Farke. That was just how we felt. Today we've made it pretty clear how we feel about Dean Smith.
And it's also very important, all of that Farke stuff.
Yes.
It wasn't in any way, shape or form meant to cause, debate and friction for the point of it. I believed in it, and the club ended up believing in it. And I think the majority of people ended up believing in it. Look, Dean Smith, if we want to get promoted, should go. Do I think the club will do that? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I also think it's incredibly unfair to just say everything's shit when some things aren't. And I think there have been elements of this season that have been good. It's not black and white. It's not black and white.
No, I do agree with that. And I want to just respond to this last line. Like, this is why we do Twitter questions, because and why we did the watch-alongs. We want to talk to fans. We want to hear out fans. We want to hear what you guys think and what you believe and where you think the club is at. We're not sitting here preaching, getting on our pedestal about stuff. And I feel like that I spend a lot of time on Norwich City social media,
you do,
going out there, researching effectively of like, what are people saying? Why are they thinking that? Why are they feeling that? And like the whole reason why I've built my social media account is like responding to as many fans as possible. So like, we don't claim to represent the fans' voice, but I promise you, I work so hard to try to put those fan feelings and opinions to you, Jack, and to put them in the room. I create an agenda on this podcast every week, purely based upon what people are talking about on social media. So I think a lot of that is unfair, and I think a lot of people are pushing a narrative out of jealousy, unfortunately.
I think, just quickly, I mean, like, you know me, Chris, I honestly don't care what people think, and I think people have the right to think.
I wish you did, because I do. I struggle with that.
And I think people have the right to think what they want of people, but there are a lot of people that do care, and I think it's good to care what people think of you. But some of the stuff I've seen sent to me after those tweets, most of it wasn't even opinion, it was facts, was pretty fucking, like, disrespectful. And if that was sent to someone else who was maybe slightly more sensitive, would have had a pretty shit weekend. Yeah. So I'm just saying, be careful. You fire what you want at me, because it doesn't matter.
Well, and just like Kenny, just like what Kenny said on the podcast, criticism is fine. Disagreeing with people's opinion, like, it's an opinions game. Yeah. Everyone's got an opinion, but like, let's not get personal, guys. Right? We genuinely work so hard to create content for people to enjoy. But feel free to disagree, but don't get personal towards it at all. Go on, let's lift the spirits.
I think Liam says here, thoughts on the empty seats yesterday, but even before Blackburn scored. I think we've got to touch on the attendance. And you said it earlier, I think Michael Bailey said, like, people are starting to vote with their feet or campaign with their feet. I think there are a few factors that you have to take into consideration. Yeah. It was freezing cold, it was on the telly, there were train strikes, and it was the final weekend before Christmas. But putting all of those aside, I can't ever recall, even when we were in League One, a league game where there were so many empty seats.
So many.
And it was also interesting.
Barclay as well, Jack. In the lower Barclay.
I mean, we looked around and huge gaping holes of empty space. I think, but by the time the full-time whistle blew, there was less than 20,000 in there.
Oh, mate, I think there was less than 20,000 there.
Possibly
for the beginning of the game.
We stuck around for the 90. I left. It usually takes me. I park up near the Royal Mail sorting office, Yarmouth Road. It takes me a good half an hour to get out of Thorpe. Yeah. So there wasn't even a single. Traffic. I was straight out, and that was telling.
Sad, isn't it? It is really, really sad.
And I think it's what the club will be very, very aware of, particularly with the like how expensive life is at the moment. Season ticket renewals. The club will start to care if they see their finances being affected. Yeah. And I know that for the majority of football clubs, ticket revenue and season ticket revenue is a really small drop in the ocean. But it starts to become more important when you're not in the Premier League and you don't have that Premier League money. The club will be acutely aware. They might seem distant when it comes to fan sentiment and blaming the fans. If they start to see a hit on their balance sheet, that's when it changes. Yeah. And they will be concerned with the amount of people that weren't there on Saturday. And you know what? I was tempted not to go on Saturday, but I did because I love going to Carrow Road and I love seeing my mates. I'm just looking. We've got a game on New Year's Day, haven't we?
Well, and whilst you look at that, so I've spoken to someone at the club today because I feel like it's important to actually just ask them directly so I can try and present you guys with the facts. Maybe it'll come out before this is released. But I've been told that the official attendance was over 25,000, okay? But the official attendance is actually different to how many people actually turned up because it's very evident that thousands, oh God, that hurts my feelings, thousands of season ticket holders didn't turn up.
No. So Norwich have a game on the 30th of December and the 2nd of January, both at home. Yeah. The game on the 30th is at 7:45 against Reading. Yeah. Why would you want to go? I'm going because it gets me out of the house.
But what's sad, Jack, is like in years gone by, you know, the festive football Carrow was full to the rafters and we would be singing and chanting and it ain't going to be there.
No, it's not.
I've got a question from Will Granty. He says 2 statements. Okay. He's getting them in. Will Granty says 2 statements. One positive, and one negative.
Okay.
Negative. I'm really fed up with the players and the manager walking the talk, but then failing to replicate it on the pitch. It's been the same for the last 18 months.
What did he say? Walking the talk?
Walking the talk.
Did you mean talking the talk?
I know where you're coming from, mate.
Me too.
Positive. Gibbs impressed when he came on. Positive throughout.
Yeah,
Gibbs
has been good. Gibbs has been good.
But
I think that there's naiveties to his game, as you'd expect with a young player.
Yeah.
But on the whole, he has been a shining light.
I'm sorry to be negative again, though, and I'm gonna combat you with some of the shit that you gave me last season.
Johnny Rowe syndrome.
I think this is Johnny Rowe syndrome.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
You told me off for praising Johnny Rowe because he was giving absolutely everything: tackling, running, positive movements, trying to link up play, actually coming out of his position to try to collect the ball to impact the game. That's what I want to see. Liam Gibbs did that. He should be praised for it, but. Come on.
No, I agree.
We can't start praising people for running.
No, I agree.
Let's not go there.
And he is part of a midfield that has been bitterly disappointing this season.
But let me be clear, I'm a huge Liam Gibbs fan.
But
I just think we need to be. That is, Will, I love you, mate, for coming out with that. But we need to be.
What was the negative?
Let's not go.
Oh, he's just bored of life.
Yeah, basically, players and manager.
Here's a bit of festive cheer from Jez from Bez.
Go on.
If my numeracy skills are correct, I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
December the 27th marks 5,000 days since we last lost to Ipswich.
Yep, good.
That's good.
Yeah, that is good.
That's got to make you smile.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Come on.
Of course it does. Of course it does. We love a bit of that. But I tell you what, and I don't like to admit it, I am
Scared about Ipswich?
I wouldn't say that, Jack. I won't ever say that. But if they get promoted this season, with the amount of money that they've got, with the momentum that they will have, let's not go any further. Chris Dayton, we love Chris Dayton, friend of the channel. He says, over the past 12 games, we are 20th on form.
Wow.
We've been trending down for well over a year. Even when we were winning at the start of the season, we didn't look good. Smith can't turn this around. And for him to criticise the fans, 0-1, 2-1, do one, mate. Hashtag Chow Smith with 4 poo emojis. But I know we laughed there. But Chrissy Dayton is one of what is now a large majority of Norwich fans. And I agree. Like, that comment at the end of the game there is the icing on the cake, I'm afraid. Like, don't do it.
It would be wrong to argue with facts, and Chris has presented facts.
Yeah, and by the way, Chris, I didn't know that we were 20th on form.
Yeah.
That's worrying.
Yeah, stinking.
Very worrying.
All About Opinions says, statement.
Go on.
Dean Smith will not be sacked by the football club because they will see our current league position. Playing style, ethos, culture, and even fan wishes will not be respected if the table doesn't reflect failure in the minds of the hierarchy. Really interesting point. So he's basically saying because we're 5th, are we? I think he won't be sacked, and I'd probably agree. I think the telling tale with the Championship table, and I've often used league position as a reason to back Dean Smith, but it is very, very compact. I think we're closer, if not closer, to the relegation zone now than we are Burnley, who are top of the table. There is a big gap between second and us, and I think there's, I don't know off the top of my head, but there's about 4 points separating 12 places. So look, I think over the last couple of years I've transitioned to, I think results don't always reflect performances. Stay with me here. But it would be wrong to look at the league table and go, everything's rosy.
And can I hold my hands up? To be really honest with everyone, I loved when we were on that 10-game unbeaten run, or it started to drop off a little bit. I was like, hang on, guys, come on. We can touch it. We can touch the automatics.
We can't now.
We can touch them.
Yeah.
We're nowhere near it. And so even I can't use that as a defence mechanism to try and be positive about where we're at. Like, yeah, of course, people inside the club will say that, but...
Here's a good question. There's a question for each of us here, and I think it's suited to maybe some of our opinions of recent months. Connor Clements, thanks Connor for the question. He says, question for Jack. After a month's break, what improvements have been visibly made?
None.
It's a question for me. How do we transform these improvements, if any, into results? Sadly, I agree with Chris. There have been no visible improvements, which is damning, really, because he's had a month. The argument from Connor when he came on, and it's a very valid argument, is that maybe teams are struggling slightly because there wasn't a break to implement coaching styles. It's so relentless, you don't have enough time on the training pitch. Dean Smith has just had a full month with, barring one player, a full squad.
And some Tampa Bay sunshine.
Which could have been the issue because it's Tampa. No, I love Tampa. If you can't make improvements during that time, you're not going to. I'm afraid to say, Connor, you've ground me down, mate. I was feeling positive, and now you've done me. I've joined the dark side.
I can't believe. I actually honestly thought that you'd not told me that you'd smash the Lakers before the match. Honestly, I couldn't believe you tweeted. I just couldn't believe you tweeted.
The other thing that's gone downhill is, and I was really, they had some beautiful, and I mean beautiful, luxury pies on sale in the Barclay for the last month. They've gone. We're back to pucker. I had to bite into a overcooked, crispy, bolty pucker pie.
I got a cop.
And the quality is poor.
Atanasios, we know you're watching. Sort the pies
Bring back the chicken and leek lovely pies.
Robert Eagleton, what a name, by the way. Solid second name. Robert Eagleton. Let's quickly read out his bio. Oh, there's no bio, but it's based in Hartlepool.
Straight to the point.
3 wins in 12. 1 win in 7 at home. That is just awful, isn't it, by the way, when you listen to that.
No wonder Dean prefers playing away from home.
Probably closer points-wise to 17th than the top 2 by the time the podcast is recorded. Smith has one of the worst records of any Norwich City manager ever. How much longer until this channel calls for change like it did Farker? So I think we've made it abundantly clear, Robert, that we think it's time up for Dino. I think we've also made it clear that, I've made it clear, I wanted to believe it. We were winning games. We went on that 10-game unbeaten run. Fantastic. It's very evident to see now that things aren't going to change.
I think my stance, is I really want it to work. I think it's quite apparent now it's not going to. I would also caveat, look, I think Dean Smith, I think his time is up, and I think that's, you're not winning the fans back over.
No.
I would also...
And that's my main reason, but sorry to interrupt you. I want this to be clear as well. My main reason now for saying, we've said nail to the cross, and now we've said he ain't going to win back the fans, that's actually my main reason, because I've seen this. Glenn Roeder, Nigel Worthington, I've seen this before, and with this supporter base, a passionate, loyal, dedicated, patient, kind, on the whole, supporter base, you don't win it back when it's got to the point of those chants on Saturday.
No, I think we often struggle. I think the only thing I would say, and maybe the reason why I've been deemed to be delusional or optimistic, tick which of those boxes you feel fit, is there is a lack of nuance in these debates. It's either you want Smith out or you want Smith in. I've said for the majority of this season, certainly for the last couple of months, improvement needs to be made. It hasn't been made. I think there have been good parts of Dean Smith's time at Norwich City.
Yeah.
And I also think there have been positive spells during this season.
20-minute spells.
As I say, positive spells. I didn't say performances throughout the full 90. And we must, with every debate we have in life, we must appreciate there's nuance. And I feel as if there's been a lot of debate this season that's completely missed that.
Okay, Cammy, USS Pistol League, says, by the way, that would be nice right now, wouldn't it? If
the ship's there, ready to sail if we want it.
If Big Mark and Magic Mike get their dollars out and inject some more money, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? For the January window.
We're out of fuel at the moment. It's failed its MOT, I'm afraid.
I know you're watching, boys. Cammy says, what's your ultimate Christmas dinner lineup?
Oh,
go on, talk to me.
Where should we start? Meat.
Okay.
Because there's a lot to go at. I think we need to start with meat.
Yeah, and there is only one answer.
You're going to say turkey.
Oh, obviously.
Yeah. I agree. I think turkey is the go-to meat on. I don't think it's my favourite meat, but it's Christmas Day.
Can be done poorly, but it's got to be on the. Agreed. We're actually agreeing on something. That's nice.
And you know what? If there's a decent number of you at the table, and you haven't wasted all of your money on the central heating, chuck a bit of beef in there as well.
I tell you what I'm a fan of. I'll go next. honey glazed carrots slash or parsnips.
Yep, big fan.
Get them on
Roasted.
the plate.
I think one of the big mistakes we make in this country, boiling the shit out of vegetables. Roast them.
Yeah.
Roast Brussels sprouts. Ruined if you boil them. Roast them.
Must say though,
Roast them.
sprouts, no go.
Have you roasted them before?
Poor. No, Jack. I know your grandma forces you to eat them. They're not nice. They're just not nice.
If they're cooked well, they're okay.
And you look like you love sprouts.
Yeah, and you can probably smell it as well.
Yeah, I can. That's for sure.
Yes, cauliflower cheese is a big one for me.
Yeah, I like a bit of cauliflower
roasted
cheese.
potatoes, not mashed with Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
Lots of Yorkshire puddings.
Not boiled potatoes, to be clear. No interest.
No.
Must be roasted. With goose fat, might I say.
Yeah.
On Christmas. Do you know the thing that I don't like as well? What I can only describe it as pissy gravy.
Oh yeah,
The gravy's got to be thick.
Yeah, onions in there.
Yeah.
Red wine in there.
Yeah. Bloody hell, mate. You come around mine for Christmas.
Yeah, you know, I think we don't agree on much in life, but I think we are quite similar with our food. One thing I will say with Christmas Day, and I think a lot of you will make this mistake, don't overdo it with breakfast. Leave yourself ample room. If you want something for breakfast, have a pint.
Yeah. That's fair enough.
Don't have a massive fry. I've seen so many people do it, and I feel for them. They go too big at breakfast, and then they're not hungry for the main event.
Dom Spencer at Southern Canary baffles me that several senior figures at Norwich City have the audacity to suggest poor support is partially responsible for bad form. Supporters want the team to win. End of. The fans are powerless to change what's happening on the pitch. No accountability at the top.
I would agree with parts. I disagree with parts. I think it would be disrespectful to fans to say that good support doesn't enhance performances. I think bad support can also do the same. When I say bad support, I'm also a big believer that if players are playing well, it bounces, right?
Well, Kenny said it. Starts with them on the pitch.
And I think there has been a complete lack of transparency at the top table this year. I think the ignore the noise sentiment has completely gone out of the window. They are almost embracing all noise at the moment. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Rory says, why are we so reluctant to change formation? We have Gibbs, Ida and Hernandez, which will do way more than someone like Sanani.
Sanani has been the biggest disappointment for me this season because I keep saying spells and I feel bad for saying it. At the start of the season, there were moments where I thought there was a bit of a player in there. He's been shit ever since. He was awful on Saturday.
Don't mince your words, mate.
Awful. Oh, you can't speak. You've been slagging off the club for the whole of this podcast.
The club?
Yeah, all of it.
Well, yeah, no, I think it's strong, but I can't defend it.
Well, he was shit at the weekend.
I mean, honestly, it was like watching Johnny Wilkinson.
He was awful.
I can't believe it. I don't understand. Do you know what's worrying me? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Cantwell and Ramsey were fit.
Yeah, they were.
So why are Cantwell and Ramsey?
Don't know.
Ramsey, by the way, we've spoken about the Ramsey Railway many a time.
Yeah, it's a curious decision.
On this podcast.
It's a curious decision.
Sanani in the squad is a worry.
Which is even more of a worry when Sanani hadn't been making the squad for so much of this season. That was a really curious decision. It's lovely to see Adam Ida back. I think he, if played in the right position,
that's a positive.
Although
the Irish R9,
it's one of his. It was. Look, I'm not going to blame Adam because he hasn't played football. One of his touches through on goal was just abhorrent at the weekend.
That's understandable given the football that he's had.
Just exactly what I just said. If you were listening,
Lee Jones statement: Dean Smith is the equivalent of receiving a Lynx Africa box set from your uncle at Christmas. So that to me says, yeah, it does the job, it delivers, but it doesn't excite you.
Yeah, and I think the Lynx Africa gift set is an important gift at Christmas because it's always nice to have a backup deodorant. It's the Lynx Africa is the kind of one you chuck in your gym bag just in case you've run out of your nice one.
Right, okay.
And unfortunately, I think that probably says that Dean Smith is okay, but you're not using him first choice. You're going for your Armani gift set.
Good, agreed. And here's a more fun question to lift the spirit. Jameson Gray, big up Jameson. Thanks for your question as always.
Met Jameson in a pub in Hemsby.
Did you?
Yeah,
lovely. Well, he says, yes, lads. I love that start. Yes, lads.
Yes, lads.
If you could pick any current Norwich City player to do a Secret Santa for, who would it be and why?
First off the bat, hate Secret Santa.
Oh.
Second,
you're so
forced
boring.
fun. Forced fun.
You're so
Forced
boring.
Fun. No one wants to
You're
get...
like a 50-year-old in
No
a
one
20.
wants-
How old are you?
No one wants to get Sarah from HR in
Well, actually,
Secret
I
Santa.
quite like a bit of spice from Sarah at Christmas time.
Do you?
Yeah, why not?
HR. Who would I have? None of them, because I don't like it.
That is a crap answer. Come
No, it's
on.
not. I don't want to do it.
You don't want to do it.
No.
Oh, that's rubbish, isn't it? I think I would go.
None of them deserve a Secret
I would
Santa.
go. This is quite a predictable answer, as people would imagine. I'm going O'Neill. I think he'd turn up with like, either he has done this before. He'd turn up with some really lovely Cuban coffee. He'd give you some Cuban coffee or some Cuban cigars potentially as well. And I've got a lot of interest in that.
if O'Neill had me in the Secret Santa, I'd worry.
I would as well,
worry.
because he's not been best pleased with some of your comments.
I think if O'Neill had you in the Secret Santa, it's not something you'd want to take home and show your mum.
He's the kind of guy that would wrap up a mankini, 100%.
yeah.
Which fair play.
I'm going to just quickly here. Charlie Stone's a serious question. Why is Jack Reed following Ipswich Town's Twitter page? This needs looking at. Because, Charlie, it used to be such brilliant fun, and I'd recommend to everyone laughing at,
You don't have to
some
follow
of their
them,
tweets. You see it first, and they've just lost to Fleetwood. Granted, it hasn't been too much fun this season because they've been winning a lot. There we go. That's all I'm saying. It used to be fun. It's not anymore. Might follow them.
So,
there's loads more questions. Do you want some more?
yeah, Colin, just keep going.
Paul, I haven't read this, but I don't think it's going to be positive for me. Jack, if you really think it wasn't that bad on Saturday, you need to question your judgment. All journalists yesterday said it was bad. Either that or now afraid to criticise Dean Smith for fear of upsetting the club. When have I ever been afraid of upsetting the football club?
Well, I don't think you're afraid of upsetting anyone, which is half the problem.
And access to interviews, which are excellent, by the way. Even Chris said it was dog shit.
Can I seriously say, just on the access to interviews thing, I just want to say again, I have chased interviews so many times, and I do it out of pure my enjoyment on Talk Norwich City is unlocking a story that's untold, a perspective that's not been shared, an insight that hasn't yet been discovered. That's why I do Talk Norwich City, right? And I have chased relentlessly to get that Kenny McLean interview. We're not afraid of not getting access. We don't get Christmas cards from the football club. We don't get payments. We don't get free tickets. That is just all of this stuff.
I wish we did.
Is made up by people that don't like us for whatever reason, and that's fair enough because I don't like some people in the world as well. But a lot of that is absolute nonsense.
Yeah, it is nonsense, as are most of my opinions.
That
was fun.
It wasn't fun.
Have
that
a good
was
Christmas,
an absolute chore.
I enjoyed it.
But I think I'd like to end by saying again that none of this is personal towards Dean Smith, and much like
a lot of your tweets were personal to me.
Yeah, they were, by the way. Which
fair
can
play.
I just say was that no, it's not fair play. It's out of order. Seriously, disagree, but don't get personal. But much like I said around Daniel Farker, did a massive, great big long tweet thread about how I really respected everything he did. He's a club legend, etc. Unfortunately, it looks to be like it's perhaps a good coach, but at the wrong time for both his career and also where Norwich City are as a football club. I think it looks to be that way. I'm sad. I don't want to be negative. I don't want to criticise the manager. I don't want to say it, but it's just where I'm at now, I'm afraid. It's not looking good.
It's not, but Christmas will still be fun.
Must win against Luton. Must win against Reading at home. If we don't win those two games, it's got to change.
There we go. Thanks so much for watching, and thanks so much for your support throughout 2022. It's been a real joy to produce these on a weekly basis.
It actually, although this has been the absolute graveyard shift of podcasting tonight, it is actually we love doing this for you guys.
It's huge amounts of fun. Chris, have a good Christmas,
Top
buddy.
man, Merry Christmas,
See
everyone.
you all very soon. Enjoy.